Look at the Middle East today, and you will see a vast network of influence radiating from Tehran. From militias in Iraq to political movements in Lebanon and Yemen, Iran coordinates a formidable coalition known as the Axis of Resistance. Understanding how this modern network actually functions requires looking past current headlines and traveling back nearly 1,400 years to the death of the Prophet Muhammad in 632 CE. Muhammad's death left the early Muslim community in a severe power vacuum. There was no clear consensus on a successor, creating a crisis over who possessed the authority to lead the faith and interpret the Word of God. The disagreement over that answer split the community in two. That ancient fracture eventually became the foundational ideology for the modern Iranian state. The majority of the community favored electing a leader through consensus. Meeting at a site called Saqifa, they appointed Abu Bakr as the first caliph. This group formed the basis of what is now Sunni Islam. A minority faction, however, insisted that Muhammad had already designated his cousin and son-in-law, Ali, during a sermon at an oasis called Ghadir Qum. These followers of Ali became known as the Shia. The Shia anchored their faith in the concept of the Imamate, the belief that the community must be led by an unbroken line of Muhammad's specific, infallible descendants. In this view, the Imams hold both absolute political authority and a unique spiritual insight, allowing them alone to interpret the hidden esoteric meanings of the Quran. Because Ali was initially blocked from the leadership, worldly political power was effectively severed from divine authority for the early Shia. His eventual rule ended in assassination, leaving a legacy of deep reverence for the first Imam. By centering legitimacy on a divine bloodline, the Shia became a persecuted minority that rejected the authority of any ruler chosen by mere human consensus. This intense sense of being a righteous, oppressed minority peaked in 680 CE during the devastating Battle of Karbala. Ali's son, Hussein, refused to acknowledge a corrupt caliph and was slaughtered along with his small band of followers. To the Shia, this was not just a defeat, but a supreme sacrifice for justice. This event established a theological requirement for all Shia to resist oppression. It demands that the faithful stand for justice, even when facing certain death. Karbala transformed Shi'ism from a political faction into a distinct culture, one built on the concepts of holy martyrdom and a refusal to accept illegitimate rule. In 874 CE, the faith faced a crisis when the 12th Imam disappeared. Shia doctrine holds that he entered occultation, meaning he was hidden by God to return only at the end of time. This meant that for over 1,000 years, there was no visible, divinely appointed leader. Consequently, any government formed in his absence was viewed as temporary or inherently flawed. For centuries, Shia clerics largely avoided politics, waiting in a state of quietism for the 12th Imam to return and establish perfect justice. That withdrawal ended in 1501 with the rise of the Safavid Empire. The Safavids unified Persia and declared Twelver Shiism the official state religion, radically changing the region's history. This shift turned Shiism into a Persian national identity. The state funded massive seminaries, gave clerics authority over courts, embedding scholars into government machinery. By the time the Safavid era ended, the theology of the Imams was permanently fused with the administration of the Persian state. In 1979, a popular revolution activated that theological history to overthrow the Western-backed secular monarch Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. The revolution's leader, Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, introduced a doctrine called Wilayat al-Faqih, or the guardianship of the Islamic jurist. Khomeini argued that while the 12th Imam is hidden, a senior religious scholar must hold absolute political and religious power to protect the faith. This provided a theological justification for clerical rule. To defend this vision, the regime created the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC. They served as a fiercely loyalist army tasked with protecting the new clerical system from internal and external enemies. During the long, brutal war with Iraq in the 1980s, the clerics and the IRGC used the national emergency to eliminate their domestic rivals and consolidate total control over the state. By successfully translating a 7th century succession dispute into a modern system of government, Khomeini established the world's only surviving theocracy. Today, Iran's regional strategy is a direct extension of this history. Tehran projects its influence through the Shia crescent, supporting allies from Baghdad to Beirut. The state frames its opposition to the West as a modern continuation of Hussein's struggle at Karbala, a religious duty to stand against those it views as the world's current oppressors. In the regime's rhetoric, modern global powers are cast as the equivalent of the ancient caliphs, turning regional power struggles into a sacred conflict. The IRGC provides the military muscle for this strategy, deploying drones and ballistic missiles to defend a theological vision now over a millennium old. Iran's power on the global stage comes from its ability to turn an ancient dispute over who should lead a faith into a blueprint for modern geopolitical survival.